in a compound. And when I say a compound, it was because when my grandpa settled in that area, all his family was with him. Sons, daughters, two adopted grandchildren that their parents had passed. And so we all had our little home. My mother and dad also built there. There were about 6 homes in the compound. So my friends were my cousins. And it was all boys. There was a cousin who was adopted because she had lost my father's brother has passed, and also the wife also had passed, and so my grandma adopted the children, but she was a lot older, not a lot older, but I want to say she was maybe like 7 years, older than me. So there I was, the little girl in the middle of boys, and loved by her grandma. Something they like little girls, but I was a tomboy, honey. I mean, I was up there with the boys. I climbed trees, and in climbing trees, that's where I learned about that the energy that I got as I climbed to one branch for another branch, and you test it to see how far you can go. And when you're little and skinny, you can go very high. I loved it because you felt like you were free, and then the hugging of the trees. And to this day, I still have my trees, and that I choose to hug for whatever need I have. I go to my tree. Like in the book, you'll see that I say that that my church is the universe. It's up there. So that's where I pray outside.
Yeah. So nature.
Yeah, and the nature, and because I was raised around nature, but we did pray a lot, but. Again, I had a grandma who was a matriarchal, strong woman. And although a woman was in charge, but we all had defined roles. Men worked. Men did not wash clothes. Men just had to take care of the yard, the cars, even appliance broke. They were all mechanics, they were all technicians. Can you imagine, Bria, that you never had to call a repair person to those casitas because they all knew.
People all knew.
They
knew how to take care of their homes.
They did. So she was in charge, right? So, and I was always with her because I was there next door to her. And not only because you wanted to be there, but since you even start walking, they take you to your grandma every morning because you learn how to shake their hand, and you had to kiss her hand, and the grandpa, not only grandpa, just the grandmother also. So I grew up going every morning. Before even you didn't even have a piece of tortilla, you had to go over there. So, when I was there, she was always cooking. The grandma was always in the kitchen. So I was very observant, and I watched. I watched her make tortillas. I watched her on the stove, and when I was about 5 years old, when I started learning how to make tortillas, to prepare tortillas for the first time. But they had to put a stool. She had to hit a stool for us. It was for me. Gloria, ven para acá. So, so it was now time to teach Gloria about how to make tortillas. So,
how old were you?
I was about 6. In fact, when I had to, there's a doctor. So, it was interesting because, again, no recipes. I 2 handfuls of flour, okay? 2 handfuls or 3, depending on how much we were gonna make, right? And then teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of baking soda. But this was it. The palm of your hand was the measurements. That was your palm of your hand, and then a puño of sal, maybe, a puño. But you know what? I've asked people what a puño is, and no one can tell me that there's a definition for it in English. You look it up, a puño is a fist. Well, no, it's not a fist. This is a puño. Just your 5, whatever you can catch with your 5 fingers, that's a puño. There's even songs to when people die, a puño de tierra, It's when you go, they give you pass around dirt so you can bless the casket. But that's a puño de tierra. The only different description I can give it is a puño is whatever you can gather with 5 fingers.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That's a puño. So anyway, so that's how I learned how to make tortillas. But they make the dough, and that's exciting. You see the process, and if you have the imagination, honey, that I have, oh my goodness, I can, I'm not an artist, but I'm an artist in my in my mind. I'm an artist, and so I would play like Play-Doh. That's what was so, Play-Doh. Like and then you make your testales. I don't know, what do you call them in English? You make the little balls. I don't know. Testales. We call them testales. Okay. But the fun part was remember, I had already been observing my grandma for a long time to make tortillas. So when it was my turn to make the tortilla, I thought it cool because you know what? Because she says no mapas, no queremos mapas. We don't want maps. We had to have perfect circles. So I had already kept my eyes on her. I'm not dumb. I knew already what to expect from the family, right? You better know. You better keep pay attention.
Right.
So, but it was so cool. When you started seeing that perfect circles, magic. I said, look, and you just wanted to keep making tortillas, and because you made those, now you could not mess up or make a map. She didn't want maps.
Right.
She says perfect circles, and her tortillitas were round and beautiful. I still see her pretty tortillas, and then then after learning how to prepare the tortillas. Then we had to learn that there was a right and wrong way of how to put your tortilla. So it's a process.
Right.
Everything we learned about cooking with her was a process. Mm-hmm. Okay, the measurements is your hand and your fingers, but it is a process. My grandparents were very proud of the roots. Now that's the paternal side. Okay, that's the paternal side. That's where I learned that I was Guachichil Chichimeca, from the lineage of the Guachichil Chichimeca from Zacatecas, from the El Gran Tunal, Zacatecas. And my son helped me. And I found 10 generations that were baptized in the same church. And I did get to visit Zacatecas and the church where my ancestors were baptized. And the community where they lived, and there's still some Camarillos there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is so special.
Yes, I mean, I've always known, because my grandpa would, make sure that we knew. And and like I remember they brought a lot of the customs because my parents were born here. I was born here, but my grandpas were from the Zacatecas. So all that learning took place. The grandmothers taught me some things. The grandpa, I learned from my father. Oh, I got to tell you about my dad. When I was little. And we had like a cot outside. But it was not a cot. It's like a bed, metal bed. Because it was so hot, we didn't have air condition. There were hot summers here, San Antonio. And then, so we would, all of us would cuddle with our dad outside. And then I loved it because that's where I learned about the moon, about the stars. And that's where I learned how to count and pray with my father. I mean, amazing man. And he would, teach us to count. We started counting stars. And then he would tell us that that when we die, we have never not talked about death. That's when we learned from very little that you're born and you leave. And so he would tell us that the stars were our family goes, and they're watching over us, and they're taking care of us. And then the moon, that's, the feminine that helps women. My dad would tell us all those stories because the family that he comes from, they believe in nature. It was just the moon and the sun. They paid reverence to the moon and the sun. And so they were astronomers, I think. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding you. Yeah. But that's what with my father, I learned how to pray and count. And to this day, Bria, I count in Spanish, and I pray in Spanish. And my prayers are not your Our Father or Hail Mary. Your prayers are like my recipes. They come from my spirit. My prayers come from my spirit. And it's not 100 words. It could be 2 words. It could be 3 words. It's just what I feel. To the point where, when I meditate, it feels like my body goes away because I really get deep into my spirituality because, having been raised in a very spiritual family. Well, the Catholic, one family was Catholic, and the other grandmother, the maternal side were the Spiritist. So Bria, I would go on Wednesdays and Fridays. I would go to the Spiritist Center. Saturday, I go to confession. Sunday, I get into Holy Communion.
What a week.
What a week for the little girl.
Right.
What a week. But and
that's
so that's why I was a sponge. I mean, I learned I didn't let anything go past me. So I did a lot of learning, and the childhood was good. I mean, like every child has traumas, and I had my own too, but that's separate because I would never let that get in the way of my happiness. Because I was a happy child, and very into myself. I always wondered who I was when I was little. I said, "Oh, what am I doing here?" It's very interesting because because I would look in the mirror and I said, "Like, who am I?
Yeah.
Or why am I here?"
Did you have? Did you already have this concept of like I'm just visiting? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I wondered if I was in the right family. Because I was little. I think I was already old when I got here.
Yeah.
I was already old.
Yeah.
Because, it felt like I didn't belong. I felt that I don't belong in my family. And that's interesting even to say that.
Yeah.
But maybe along those lines, that I had a good childhood was fun. I played marbles. You gave me any, I could take on any little boy. If we had to get into a fist fight. You know, I defended my brother.
Why do you think that you didn't feel like you fit in your family?
It was just a feeling. It was just a feeling. I felt I was there for another purpose, and I'm going to go into that right now. My mother, when I was 13 years old, she comes from came from a well-to-do family. You always hear the story about us indigenous Mexican people, that we always have a side that had more than the other. But so her father had money. They had land here in San Antonio, and they had a ranch and livestock and what have you. I mean, that was his work. So my mother came from a family that was kind of more affluent than the indigenous family. So she had too many children, and coming from a home where you got served and they gave you what you needed. Your father was part of the Mutualistas. It was an organization from way back. Mutualistas. I gotta find a word how to pronounce that. But it was in a big organization, and he was one of the officers in that organization. So my mother, and it was, let me explain that they were racist, bottom line. It was a white, mestizo or white people that claim more their Spanish or their little French blood in them. Mm-hmm. That was my mother's side of the family. So, so she was kind of an overprotected woman, mm-hmm. and then went on to have 10 children. Imagine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine to where you have all accommodations and coming to where you had to go to the bathroom in an outhouse. Right. And cooking on a wooden stove. Right. Yeah. And then having a mother-in-law like my grandma. Yeah. Poor lady. My mother got sick when I was 13 years old, because wearing pigtails, because you don't grow up fast, and out there with the way they raise you. It's interesting. They don't want you to grow up, but they teach you to do grown-up things. That's what, that was confusing. You couldn't be, like a teenager or go. There was no room for people in the puberty and all. No. It was just boom. So you were already, changing diapers. You didn't have Christmas gifts because, they didn't believe in all that either, They would just go to church, midnight mass, and then eat tamales later. So, but then you're little and you learn, they're already preparing you to be a mama. And you don't need dolls. You got the experience right there because you were changing your little brother or little sister's diaper, or bathing them, and you were already mama. You were a mother already, right? And then children were born in the home. So I got to see my grandmother and my mother putting newspaper together to make pads for the bed for when they were going to deliver. Wow. And when the baby was born, I went with my grandma taught me about the placenta, to bury the placenta. I was learning that already when I was 7, years old. So by the time I was 13, I was not fully developed, and I was still like physically a girl. 13 now, now a girl now 13 is already like a grown 50-year-old. I've had some of those. Yeah. But my mother gets sick, And it's just like it happened today. It was a summer. She, and as I tell you the story, I can explain what I now thought happened to her. She just lost it, like a nervous breakdown. And that was 9 months after her baby. You know, an unexpected baby. You know how sometimes women, they just don't take care of themselves, and even if they're 40 or they're older, they have a baby. So he was my little brother was 9 months old. So there I was. We all stood there watching that ambulance take my mother away. All of it. I was 13, my brother was 15, my other brother was 11, and down 11, 9, 7, 5. And then I had my baby brother in my arms, and he was crying. But then my aunt came, and she had to take the baby. I couldn't take care of the baby. I had to go to school. I was still going to school, and then having to make lunch for my dad. So for a long time, sunsets, when the sun would, it was so sad. Those were very sad days for me, because can you imagine? Even an illness is abandonment. It's abandonment. And that's what I experienced at the age of 13, that I had to become a mama to and that's what I said, that I always felt that I didn't belong there as a sibling, because I had another mission to complete in that family. I'm making, and now my mother kind of recovered, but really didn't, and how can I say this? She came back to us, but by that time,
How old were
I
you
was,
when she came back?
I want to say about 18, because she had to go stay with my grandmother. But she would come back. She would come back. She came back, but then even if she came back, we had to continue doing we had to cook. I had to make lunch for my father. He had to go to work. He worked at Kelly Field. So it was taking. And I still went to school. I still was going to school, and there's I don't know. Are you familiar with the Edgewood district? Okay. The first school that was an elementary and high school and junior high was on Couples Road. Mm-hmm. So from Castroville and Balboa, I had to walk. We had to walk to school, to Couples Road. And then run, it was crazy. I'm not kidding you,
Wow. Goodness.
So that was like, that made me grow up pretty quick.
Right.
So
you were commuting by foot, stepping into a parental role with your younger siblings, also trying to be there for your father, trying to be there for yourself.
Yep.
All while you still needed a mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. You always need a mother. So I had the grandmothers and my aunts, but there's a lot of learning that took place with me. But for somehow it was nature, the universe, who took me, who took hold of me. That's why I like the trees. I like flowers, I like plants. As you can see the plants. Right? And I love Mother Earth. That was my mother, because of the miracles that I saw every day. A lot of people say, oh, I want a miracle. Look outside. Every day we have miracles right in front of us. Why people can't see that, I don't know. But that's what helped me. and the strength that I already was born with. One of the reasons that I believe I never bonded with my mother was because she had a baby girl before me, and the baby died a tragic death. My mother was having given birth to at my grandmother's, and the other grandmother had the baby. She was about a year and a half old, and so they had a gas stove outside for the farmhand, and the baby thought it was water because there was a little cup of gasoline, and the baby thought it was water. So when she was having her baby, her son, her daughter died. So you can imagine. So I come into a family that was broken already. So my mission again was because I was gonna be needed there. And so, but, as sad as it sounds, that made me who I am, the strong woman that girl became. That strength that she was born with, it grew as she grew up. As I grew up, nothing was difficult for me, Bria. Nothing. I went and I got married, and I was 22 when I got married. I never had another boyfriend, only the person that I married, and my marriage lasted 10 years. Because a year into my marriage, again, I feel, a year into my marriage, not one child yet was born. I knew there was going to be a separation. I knew, I just felt it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. So I lived I was married for 10 years. And after 10 years, I knew that it wasn't going to work. And I wasn't finding my place. Would you believe that? I didn't, I got involved in politics. I took care of my children. I worked. I always worked. My husband was an artist, kind of well known in San Antonio. But some artists, will never make money. So I worked. So then I go into my marriage, and coming from a strong matriarchal family, unfortunately, my partner, who was a good man, was a good friend, but was raised just like I was raised with a matriarchal family. He was raised by women, and only women. So, as much as I talk about patriarch, not against that, I'm not happy about being in a patriarchal society. Children do need to know their parents. They need to know father and mother. Whether you adopt a child, they need, because this world is a world of duality. I have respect for everyone, and nothing has to do with the gays or lesbians, because I have queer women friends that I love dearly. But we are in a dual world, and children need to know, or have role models for whatever gender they feel, because I tell people that scientists and doctors assign the child's sex, but it's the Creator who gives the child the spirit. And you don't know. The spirits come in as women, in men, and that's why we have two-spirited people. And that's life, and we should respect that. and we do. We always have. Being very, taking care of everyone, everybody. We're all equal. So, and then I've always been, I've always been a fighter. I mean, of course, what else do you expect when that was all you were getting, right? I mean, defending yourself. I mean, having to do this and learning, developing.
And you've been solving difficult problems from a very
I
young
was,
age.
I was an organizer. I was a chef. I became everything, right? And I mean, I even conducted talent shows. I was a teacher.
Yeah. You wore every hat.
I wore every hat. By the time, I was 19. There was I didn't know what teenage years were really. So then, I got involved in politics when my kids were little. I introduced my son, my son, oh my God, now he's my son, may he rest in peace, my ex-husband. I introduced him to people that were in the movement. Because Mario Compian, I don't know if you've heard the name, he was one of the founders of the Raza Unida and the movement of the Raza Unida here in San Antonio, that third party in the 60s. So I introduced Mario Compian because I went to school with Mario, and he was one of the leaders of the third party here in San Antonio with Rodi Castro. And I introduced my ex-husband, and then he got involved with them too. Okay, so but then I just started feeling not lost as much as I was in the movement against the Vietnam War or what have you. Civil rights. I didn't feel anymore that I was part of this of us. I just knew I had to move. I had to move, and I didn't know what. So I had a sister in Wisconsin, 2 sisters, and I went to visit. I told my ex-husband, I'm going to visit my sister. So I took I already had my son and my daughter, and I said I'm going to go visit my sister. So I took my daughter to Wisconsin. It was 1970, so it was very nice. I mean, and she had already been there since the riots. I mean, you've heard of the Milwaukee riots. No, oh my goodness, from the 50s and 60s. It was horrible. That's another story, honey. That's another story about the segregation that in Wisconsin separated people. A bridge separated people. So anyway, so 1970, fast forward 72, I knew that it was over, that my marriage was over. I went to live in the projects. When I got married, I went to live in the projects. Ooh, my kids laugh when I tell them the story, because coming from the rancho, it was not a farm, but from the woods, out of the woods, right? And you come to see more of city life, because that's where the projects, La San Pachicar. So I tell my kids, when I went to visit your great grandma or your father's house, man, I thought they were condos. Because the stairs were cool, my houses were wood. I lived out there, dirt and grass, and these suckers look nice,
Modern
the stairs in the bathroom was upstairs. Wow, Well, so that's what. But then that's what I saw over here that. But then that's where I learned about welfare. When I lived at home, we had everything we needed there. But when I got over here back closer to the city, boxes of cheese, powdered milk in boxes. When I love goat milk. I still have goat milk in my refrigerator. Feta cheese, goat
Right,
cheese.
right.
I mean, and that's my first introduction to
Right.
to that, the welfare, you know. No one could have ever taught me better. The learning that I had through my food is a reminder of where I come from, a reminder, and not only of the people that broke their backs to give me what I'm eating, what I'm going to eat or feed my children. But that goes further, because then I start thinking of the same people that I'm here in this little casita were built by brown people. So every piece, of this casita also is a reminder while I'm cooking, of all that has come before me, and how blessed I am, Bria. I am blessed. I'm a blessed woman with all my trials and tribulations. That I am blessed, and I can't thank the Creator for me being here, for choosing me to come, to visit Mother Earth. A journey that I feel is a journey of perfection. It's just to perfect my spirit, and I'm grateful, and that's what I see. And when my food, I see me. I see my children. I see my great-granddaughter that I love dearly. I have two, but, this one is, for some reason, visits me all the time. And I guess there's always one that will be there for you, that's there all the time. And that's a great-granddaughter. But, my Bella, remember I told you about my Bella in New York? She was born here. So yes, those little girls, I still see them. I imagine them cooking. I imagine them being great-grandmothers. I now want them to be as happy as I am. Again, life was not easy, has not been easy, but it's been my teacher. And that teacher has made me the strong woman that I am, the strong little girl, that had to grow up fast and keep on and keeping on. I let my spirit guide me. Sometimes it doesn't look like I'm making the right choices, but they are the right choices. Especially when I left San Antonio. I left in a whim. I gave everything away. I gave everything away, Bria. I signed my divorce on Wednesday. I was on a Greyhound bus with 3 suitcases, a child in arms, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a almost 9-year-old.
Wow.
We got to Wisconsin on a Friday, Saturday, something like that. Yeah. Remember, my sister's there. Mm-hmm. I asked my sister to take me to the Mexican community. Mm-hmm. On Monday, Bria, I had a job.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. I had a job on Monday, teaching English. And let me tell you, all I had all this time, up to the year 29 years old, mm-hmm. I just had a high school education. Mm-hmm. That's all I had. So I got a job teaching English as a second language. And there's Milwaukee, right? And I get to right away. I meet people. A month later, Bria, a month later, I become the director of the inner city development project serving the Hispanic community.
Wow.
The employees that I supervised were people who had degrees.
Wow.
There was a PhD in there, and I was her boss. My secretary was male.
Wow. Wow.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
a story.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
That's incredible.
And I was in federal, working for federal programs till, see, this lady has always been, watching out for Gloria. And then, of course, I mentioned to you that I love Gloria very much. But now you know why I had to love Gloria. I learned how to love Gloria. I think I was born loving Gloria. So I knew that the federal money was, when we were it was going out of business. There was there's no more, the money was dwindling down for federal monies. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to move on without going back to school. I was 38 years old when I went to school. I first went to a technical school to test it out, and I was a year at a technical school, and I aced my. Of course, I mean, come on. I love, it was just so easy for me. Mm-hmm. I said, wow, and I'd never been in school, but I liked it. Oh, my God. And then I got offered, there was a time where I was offered from UWM that if you write your story, you could get, would get some kind of a degree. You could get a degree for tell your story, and you get your classes free. There was a lot of things that were trying to help the low income people, what have you. Mm-hmm. So, but I am a proud woman. I don't, I'm proud. I have a lot of pride. So, I thought I don't want to go to UWM. I'm going to go to Marquette University. And I said, and then there was affirmative action was just coming, mm-hmm. around. And then I said, I went to register. I had from the community school. And I told them, I don't, I'm not here. I don't want to come here, under any program. I did. I just want to be, accepted for what, I have to offer and what I want to learn. But Marquette, again, in that time, those days, Marquette was like an Ivy League. I mean, it was all the labor law attorney kids were there, to the point where, so I started Marquette when I was 38 years old. And every time I walked into the classroom, I didn't know anybody. Oh, the orientation. They have like bands and beer and what have you. I remember being surrounded by all white babies. And when I tell babies, I'm talking about 18, 19-year-old. And here I was a 38-year-old woman. And you know what? I went and got my beer at orientation. And I got the beer, and I went and sat under a tree, and I cried. I said, what am I doing here? I mean, I didn't cry, I'm just sad. But I was it was like the Noche Triste. You've heard of there's a history about Cortés, that he cried when he was, the Noche Triste. It's called the Noche Triste.
Okay, yeah.
So that was my Dia Triste for me.
Yeah.
But you know what? There was a spur of the moment. It just went like that. Because I just said, clean my butt. Let's go, Gloria.
Yeah.
And so then I didn't know anybody, and and then every time I walked into the classroom, the kids thought I was a teacher.
Oh.
They thought I was a teacher. But you know that I was embraced by so many beautiful young people, especially the guys. Oh, the guys love Gloria. Because I've never held back, and I said, I just have fun with them too. Like I had kids, right?
Yeah.
So I made friends with them. By the time I finished at Marquette, I think I had about 3 tables of friends that were all buddies.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be proud of this, but you remember I told you about the segregation, this bridge? So it was fun times, right? And I can never tell you I've been a saint, because I like party. Let me tell you, 29 hit, honey, the divorce. I went through a period of it was my teenage years.
Yeah.
I did. Because I had never had fun like that.
Yeah.
So it was Milwaukee. I found fun in Milwaukee with a lot of different people of diverse cultures. It was just cool, right? And then the bars were open all night. All night. So, you go to meetings, and thank God, I'm grateful for my sister, because she would help me with the children. Well, I had to go do what I was going to do. But I would tell the kids at Marquette, I would tell them, look, you know how they take you on field trips when you're kids, right? Mm-hmm. I would tell them, okay, I'm going to take you on a field trip. And they say, really? I say, yeah, are you interested in a field trip? And I said, sure. I said, well, it's a night trip. I crossed them across the bridge, all the white little boys and girls. I took them to the bar, the Mexican community. They partied. But I told them, don't you come here by yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't you come here by yourself. But then my son was already old enough to drink, my son. And we made a pact, because I never partied with my children.
Yeah.
I said to my son, it was not like a bar. It was people, men, women, mother, everybody was there.
Yeah.
So I would tell my son, if I go, if I'm with my friends and you're there, I leave. If you're already there, I leave.
Yeah.
If I'm there, too bad for you, honey.
Yeah.
Because my children and I never partied, because we're boundaries. Mm-hmm. There's boundaries. I like to party too, but there were boundaries.
Yeah.
So I graduated, and I went to the prom with 2 guys.
Oh, wow.
I went to the prom.
Yeah.
It was amazing, honey. It was a beautiful experience being at Marquette. Mm-hmm. And I took the law exam, but I gave it some thought. I had a band, band happened to me. I didn't abandon her because we were there, but still, my being in school, and I had a 16-year-old, and there was some, I'm sure that she felt it, because she needed her mother too at the time, and I was too busy being a student, So then, history repeats itself sometimes, But I graduated. And then the Internal Revenue Service offered me a job.
That's awesome.
I didn't know anything about. I only knew that that you get money back.
Right.
Can you imagine? It's called Bisonet con Moras. It's a bison mulberry pecan.
And tell me again the story of how you learned how to make this.
Okay, first of all, the compound, if you remember, there was a lot of pecan trees. That remember I used to climb and that's when I learned how to hug a tree. And then there were the mulberry trees. Oh my goodness, mulberries, all pecans on the ground, more mulberries. So and it was nice because you could eat them there. It was so clean that we didn't have to wash them. That was how clean our dirt was, and so then. Coming into getting involved with the Native American, I met a lot of Native American people. I was exposed more to northern Native American people in Wisconsin. And then I had my own growing up. Remember, my grandpa made sure that I knew where we come from, And so with all that teaching and then more from the Native American, I've always embraced it, but I learned how to embrace it more as I got older. Because if you're too young, pero, when I start saying pero, something heavy is gonna come here, is that racism that you experience your first day at school. It's that racism that it's another thing you gotta fight. All these white teachers that don't know anything about us, and they change you, or they try to change you. That's why if you hear my accent, I practice on my accent, because that's what they always try to take that away from me. They couldn't change my name. I'm so proud of that. Because there's no way. They changed, names of kids, Roberto to Bobby, Maria to Mary, Josefina, you become a Josie. With me, no. They had to call me Gloria. They had there's no other way they would call me but my name. So all that, all that, it was the craziness. So I kind of, sort of, and because of all the labels they gave us, I'm trying to get to what you asked me. They gave me so many labels sometimes that you really didn't want to be, Indio. That they made it seem like it was better over here than what you were getting at home. They tried to take that away from us, and sometimes by humiliation. And but it was a good thing that we had parents or fathers that knew better. That I would tell my father, and they said that I learned that they said that George Washington was our father, and my father said, "Ta pendejo." My father, right away, my father cussed, and that's why I still cuss a lot too. My father says, "Dile a tu maestra que está pendeja. Aquí el único papá soy yo, amigo. The only father you have is me here." So I come home and then they correct me. So that was good. That I had, they were not really book educated, but they knew where they came from. They knew who they were.
And they knew the truth.
Yes, they knew the truth of who they were. When it came to the parade, fiesta. Oh, now there's a Spanish woman over here say, "Oh no, you don't." She says, all they're doing is making fun of us, Mexicanos. Mexican people don't go to those parades. Well, she didn't get to see them, but there's other people that go see the parade are wrong people. But she said that they were making fun. And it's true. That parade was because, the war, that was, when Mexico lost the land. So my mother made sure about fiesta. That was not for us. But one time I told them that I was going to somewhere else with a uniform because I was in the pep squad, and I did go in the parade. Well, I mean, they were not here to know that anymore. But see, so all that they were trying to humiliate, take away from us. Then you didn't know whether they would call you Mexican American. They called that. So we went through so many damn labels, and you know what? Thank goodness for my grandfather and my father, my parents, that no matter what the white people labels were giving us, they kept reminding us that no, But still, it appeared like the damn people out here were winning. You follow me? Like I was like buying into it. I did, and I did for a while. I bought into, during that, when I was married, I bought into the big, pretty cute, hair made up, and then being, my ex-husband and I were part of a Spanish group here. The King of Spain came, and there I was, partying with a bunch of people, but inside of me, I knew. I knew what, but still, they reel you. It's like the brainwashing you in the school system. But I just, I remember that, and it just says, I still get upset about it. That's why I want to, but I'm going there to tell you that the indigenous was always in me. How I was raised, how I was taught to pray, my beliefs, the culture, the traditions that I practiced at home. But still, that other world looked better than over here. And I was young. So then I started meeting more Native American people in Milwaukee, how proud they were. And that's when but I've always been proud. And when it came out, the more proudness is when I was around all these different cultures. I was around black people, white people, but they didn't call themselves white. They were Irish, Polish. It was just beautiful. African American, the Yoruba community, and I just, and that, Bria, that's when I said, this is me, and then all that other humiliation, all that other stuff that was like around me, I started to wash it away out of me, and then I said, then all that my grandpa, all, like you say, they were coming back from me. And then that's it. And then I got to San Antonio, and there was a movement, and we together with a lot of other people. That after a lot of group people got together to bring attention to tell people we are here. We're not, because they would say that the Coahuiltecan people were they were extinct. How can you extinct blood, people? And you still have people here that they were rather not, but more and more so, more people are recognizing that how the beauty of that blood that we carry. And so how did this come about? This came about thinking when I started reading about the fry bread, other native food. And then I said, I have my own too, so I can incorporate. like the buffalo, because we ate game, but it was like armadillo. We had wild hog. We had quail, chicken, turkey. But now, more so, and that's how I brought together and because of the beautiful moments of the trees, of the pecan and the mulberry trees, then I thought, I can do, and then it comes because I receive visions. I'm a visionary, if you will. So even my dreams are in color. I travel in my dreams. I go to different countries when I dream. So this is my dream dish. So I got together the meat, the mulberry, and the pecans, and the agave. And it wasn't like right away. It just I do things in pieces. So then it got more creative, and then more creative, and then this is what you have now with cinnamon. Don't tell the chef.
No, I won't tell him.
The cinnamon on this
Right,
dish.
no, your secret is safe with me.
But so and that's why I take a lot of pride in this is a baby, my first baby, and then my vegan soup. That is, it's a vegan pecan soup. It is delicious. People wanted more when they did. So that's another creation that I have, that I make. And I have a lot of respect for my children. Their accomplishments are theirs. They're very successful. I have 3 successful children that I could not have been more blessed than that blessing, those 3 children that were given, that God gave me to bring into this world. And that's why I tell you that, or I tell women, value yourselves, because look, you're creators. You create. We're the ones that are supposed to be making policy for our country. We're supposed to be the leaders, people. Wake up. Wake up. Because we are the creators. We were chosen. Because not a man will ever, they might try through their technology, their craziness, but it will never happen. This is a world of duality. A duality where women were chosen to be leaders. Women were chosen to be the creator, to create, to bring all of us that are here. We're the product of warriors. And the warriors, we need to continue creating warriors. We need that. So this is why this is why you have this dish. It's the merging of cuisine in Texas, and I believe that this is important to not important to teach someone to make it, but with this, what I put into this, I want people to know that settlers, if you will, or people that are coming into San Antonio, into Texas, that way before, we've been here thousands and thousands of years, and we don't want them to forget in what land is receiving them. I don't want to teach. If you want to learn, that's fine. But this is just a reminder to all that are coming here, or that have taken over, tried to take over, that this is, they were welcome here. They're welcome here by people who are the descendants of the land that they cultivated, of the buildings that our people built. All these buildings, brown hands like black hands have touched every building in this city. And we don't want people to forget that. That's why we have to keep on with teaching, about being proud of our food, of Tex-Mex, of Mexican, of native food, because that's one way it's always remind others, because others sometimes they forget, or they think they can just come in here and just, take our homes over our land. No. You come here because of strong people that cultivated this land. So people need to start respecting us, not only eating our food, because they eat their food, they gonna eat our food, but they're still marked with racism. How dare them? How dare you talk about deportation? And be eating at a Mexican restaurant, thank you. My God. No, the settlers need to understand that this is sacred land that for over 20,000 of years have been cultivated by our people. And we don't want them to forget. And that's why you see this dish. Because I don't want no one to forget. Now, I will not teach them. They don't have to know all about my tradition or my rituals.
Right.
But they need to understand that they are in borrowed land, and borrowed land and stolen at the same time, right. Because they come and steal our land, and it was stolen from us. So.
And then they tell us to leave.
Leave? Where the hell do you want me to leave? I mean, do you want me to go to the barrio? Sure. I'll get in my car and go, a couple of miles, and I'm there. I'm home. This is home. So don't, it's just a shame that how we ended up as a people. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just us. I mean the people as a whole. Mm-hmm. How did this beautiful land become part of something that's so ugly now? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our land is sacred. Mm-hmm. Our land is blessed. Mm-hmm. It's the people who mm-hmm. are running mm-hmm. our country, yeah. who call, they don't even know yet that they are in the United States of America. They think that this is America.
Right.
How little do they know? Right. How uneducated they are. And one day, this is a new country. This country will fail. This country will fall.
I think it already is.
Well, yeah, it is falling. Yeah, it is falling already. And then we have to rise. But we will not only, it's going to be a different group of people that are rising, because, I hate the word melting pot. Don't ever talk to me about a melting pot. But spirits are finding each other amongst our different colors. And that's a new race. And that's a race that's going to wake up. We might have a revolution. And I still feel that we will have to go through a revolution, and to know who you are is the best thing. Makes you proud, knowing that you come from a lineage of beauty, of tradition, of rituals that hold you up. And you don't have to borrow anything from anybody to keep surviving. And we're gonna go through a lot more cycles of ups and downs, but we will survive. Brown people will survive. Brown people of color, black people, we will all survive, because we're coming together. And I can assure you that I am so proud of my familia that I have the United Nations. I have beautiful brown people, my beautiful black children. I love them dear, and I don't care how light one is. I just love them the same. There's no difference in these grandmothers' love. There's no color here.